Welcome back to Second Chance Histories, where we explore the extraordinary moments that reveal healing can come from the most unexpected sources and through people who never imagined they possessed the power to transform lives with something as simple as human touch. Today's story takes us to St. Vincent's Medical Center in Baltimore, Maryland, where 58-year-old custodial worker Miguel Santos discovered that his hands carried an impossible gift: the ability to ease pain, accelerate healing, and even reverse life-threatening conditions through nothing more than gentle, compassionate touch. What began as one man's instinct to comfort suffering patients became a medical phenomenon that would challenge everything doctors thought they knew about healing and prove that sometimes the most powerful medicine comes from the most humble sources. This is the story of the healing touch, where a night janitor's simple acts of kindness revealed that extraordinary healing abilities can emerge in ordinary people when they're motivated by pure compassion for others suffering. Miguel Antonio Santos had worked the night shift as a custodial staff member at St. Vincent's Medical Center for 15 years, maintaining the hospital's cleanliness and order during the quiet hours when most of the city slept. At 58, Miguel was the kind of employee that administrators valued but rarely noticed: reliable, hardworking, and completely dedicated to his job without seeking recognition or advancement. Miguel had emigrated from El Salvador 23 years earlier, speaking limited English and carrying skills only in manual labor and an extraordinary capacity for hard work. The custodial position at St. Vincent's had provided him with steady employment, health insurance for his family, and the quiet satisfaction of knowing that his work contributed to an environment where healing could take place. "Miguel is the most dependable employee we have," said Janet Rodriguez, the hospital's head of environmental services. "He's been working here longer than most of the doctors, and in all that time, he's never missed a shift, never complained about extra work, and never caused any problems. He takes care of this hospital like it's his own home." What Janet and the hospital administration didn't know was that Miguel's dedication to his work extended far beyond cleaning floors and emptying trash. During his solitary night rounds, Miguel had developed a practice of quietly checking on patients who seemed to be suffering, offering words of comfort in his gentle, accented English, and sometimes simply placing a reassuring hand on their shoulder or arm. Miguel's interactions with patients weren't part of his job description, and he was careful to never interfere with medical procedures or draw attention to himself. But he couldn't walk past someone who was crying, writhing in pain, or struggling with fear without offering whatever comfort he could provide. "I see people suffering," Miguel later explained, "and my heart, it cannot just walk by. If I can say something to help them feel less alone, if I can touch their hand so they know someone cares, this is what God wants me to do." This simple, compassionate impulse would prove to have consequences that no one could have anticipated. The first incident that would eventually reveal Miguel's extraordinary abilities occurred on a Tuesday night in September 2019. Miguel was cleaning the oncology ward when he heard soft crying coming from room 412. Inside, he found Mrs. Eleanor Patterson, a 67-year-old woman who was receiving treatment for advanced pancreatic cancer. Mrs. Patterson was experiencing severe pain that her prescribed medications weren't adequately controlling, and she was also struggling with the fear and loneliness that often accompany serious illness during the isolated hours of night. "Señora," Miguel said quietly, not wanting to startle her, "I am Miguel. I clean the hospital. I hear you crying. Are you okay?" Mrs. Patterson looked up at this gentle stranger who had appeared in her doorway with obvious concern for her well-being. "I'm in so much pain," she whispered, "and I'm so scared. I don't know if I'm going to survive this cancer, and I feel so alone." Miguel approached her bedside and, with her permission, sat in the visitor's chair beside her bed. "You are not alone," Miguel said, his English careful but warm. "God is with you, and now Miguel is with you too. May I hold your hand?" Mrs. Patterson nodded, grateful for any human connection during her moment of despair. Miguel gently took her hand in both of his and began speaking to her in a soft, comforting voice about hope, strength, and the importance of not giving up. But something remarkable began to happen as Miguel held Mrs. Patterson's hand. Her expression of pain gradually relaxed, her breathing became deeper and more regular, and the tension in her body visibly decreased. "The pain," Mrs. Patterson said with amazement after about 10 minutes, "it's almost gone. How is that possible?" Miguel was as surprised as Mrs. Patterson. He had intended only to provide emotional comfort, but somehow his touch seemed to have provided actual physical relief from her cancer pain. "I don't know, Senora," Miguel replied honestly. "I only want to help you feel better." Mrs. Patterson slept peacefully for the rest of the night, the first pain-free sleep she had experienced in weeks. When her oncologist, Dr. Michael Rodriguez, examined her the following morning, he was puzzled by her dramatically improved condition and her reports of complete pain relief. "Mrs. Patterson's pain levels have decreased significantly," Dr. Rodriguez noted in her medical chart. Patient reports that pain relief began after interaction with hospital staff member during overnight hours. "We'll monitor closely and adjust pain management protocols as needed." Over the following months, Miguel continued his practice of offering comfort to patients who appeared to be suffering during his night rounds. And increasingly, these interactions seemed to result in improvements that went beyond what emotional support alone should have been able to provide. Mr. James Thompson, a 72-year-old man recovering from heart surgery, had been experiencing dangerous irregular heartbeats that weren't responding well to medication. After Miguel spent time talking with him and holding his hand during a particularly difficult night, Mr. Thompson's cardiac rhythm stabilized in ways that surprised his cardiologist. Young Sarah Martinez, an 8-year-old girl being treated for a severe asthma attack, had been struggling to breathe despite maximum medical intervention. When Miguel sat with her and placed his hands gently on her shoulders while talking to her about brave little girls who overcome big challenges, her breathing gradually improved to normal levels. Mrs. Lisa Chen, a 45-year-old woman suffering from complications after surgery, had been running a dangerous fever that wasn't responding to antibiotics. After Miguel's visit, during which he had placed his hand on her forehead while offering prayers for her recovery, her fever broke and her infection markers began to improve rapidly. Each case followed a similar pattern: patients experiencing medical crises that weren't fully responding to conventional treatment, encounters with Miguel during overnight hours, and subsequent improvements that surprised their doctors and exceeded medical expectations. Dr. Patricia Williams, the hospital's chief of internal medicine, began noticing the unusual pattern of overnight patient improvements after reviewing several months of medical charts. "We're seeing a statistically significant number of patients showing unexpected improvement during night shift hours," Dr. Williams reported to the hospital's medical staff meeting. "The improvements are occurring across different medical specialties and age groups, but they're all happening during the same time period, roughly between midnight and 4 a.m. Dr. Williams decided to investigate systematically, beginning with interviews of the night shift nursing staff to determine if they could identify any common factors in the patients who were showing unusual improvements. "The patients all mention Miguel," said Jennifer Martinez, head of the night nursing staff. "They talk about how kind he is, how he takes time to listen to them and comfort them when they're scared or in pain. They all seem to feel better after he visits them." Dr. Williams was initially skeptical that a custodial worker's emotional support could account for the measurable medical improvements she was documenting. But when she interviewed patients directly, their descriptions of their interactions with Miguel were remarkably consistent and compelling. "Miguel saved my life," Mrs. Patterson told Dr. Williams during a follow-up interview. "I don't mean that figuratively, I mean he literally saved my life. I was in agony, ready to give up, and after he held my hands and talked to me, The pain disappeared and never came back. My latest scans show that my cancer is responding better to treatment than my doctors expected. Dr. Williams began formally documenting the correlation between Miguel's patient interactions and subsequent medical improvements. Working with the hospital's data analysis team, she identified 23 cases over 6 months where patients had shown unexpected improvement after receiving visits from Miguel. The improvements were measurable and significant. Pain reduction in 89% of cases. Faster healing in 76% of cases. Improved vital signs in 82% of cases. A reduced need for pain medication in 71% of cases. A shortened hospital stays in 67% of cases. The statistical correlation is undeniable, Dr. Williams reported. Patients who interact with Miguel during their hospital stays show measurably better outcomes than patients with similar conditions who don't have these interactions. Dr. Williams also noted that Miguel's effect seemed to be strongest with patients who were experiencing the most severe symptoms or the greatest emotional distress. Dr. Williams decided to speak directly with Miguel about the pattern she had discovered, though she was unsure how to approach a conversation about what appeared to be unexplainable healing abilities. Miguel, Dr. Williams began carefully during their meeting, I've been reviewing patient charts, and I've noticed that many patients report feeling significantly better after you spend time with them. Can you tell me what you do when you visit with patients? Miguel was clearly uncomfortable with the attention and seemed worried that he might be in trouble for interacting with patients outside his job duties. Doctor, I am sorry if I do something wrong, Miguel said nervously. I only try to help people who are sad or scared. I talk to them. Sometimes I hold their hand, sometimes I say a prayer with them. I never touch anything medical, I never give medicine. I only want to help them feel less alone. Dr. Williams assured Miguel that he wasn't in trouble, but she was curious about whether he had noticed the pattern of patient improvements following his visits. See, doctor, I noticed that people seem to feel better after we talk, Miguel admitted. But I think it is because they feel less afraid when they know someone cares about them. When you are sick and scared, it helps to know you are not alone. Dr. Williams realized that Miguel was genuinely unaware that his interactions were producing measurable medical improvements beyond emotional comfort. With Miguel's permission, Dr. Williams arranged for discreet observation of his interactions with patients to better understand what was happening during these encounters. Dr. Sarah Chin, a resident in internal medicine, was assigned to shadow Miguel during his night rounds and document his interactions with patients who had consented to participate in the study. What Dr. Chin observed was remarkable in its simplicity and profound in its effects. Miguel's approach to patients was consistently gentle, respectful, and focused entirely on their comfort and well-being. He would introduce himself quietly, ask permission before approaching, and then sit with patients while they talked about their fears, their pain, or their concerns about their families. Miguel doesn't do anything that looks medical, Dr. Chen reported. He simply listens with complete attention, offers words of encouragement, and frequently holds patients' hands or places his hand gently on their shoulder or forehead. But something happens during these interactions that goes beyond normal emotional support. Dr. Chen documented that patients consistently showed measurable physiological changes during and after their time with Miguel. Heart rate variability improved toward normal ranges. Blood pressure decreased to healthier levels. Stress hormone markers decreased significantly. Pain response indicators improved markedly. Sleep quality improved dramatically. Miguel's presence seems to activate patients' natural healing responses in ways I've never observed before, Dr. Chin concluded. Word of Miguel's apparent healing abilities spread throughout the medical community, attracting the attention of Dr. James Patterson, a researcher at Johns Hopkins University who studied complementary and alternative healing methods. Dr. Patterson requested permission to conduct a formal study of Miguel's interactions with patients, using advanced monitoring equipment to measure physiological changes during healing sessions. We want to understand whether Miguel possesses some kind of measurable healing ability, or whether the improvements we're seeing can be explained through known psychological and physiological mechanisms, Dr. Patterson explained. The study involved 30 patients who were randomly assigned to receive either standard care or standard care plus visits from Miguel. Advanced monitoring equipment measured brain activity, heart function, immune system markers, and pain response indicators before, during, and after interactions with Miguel. The results were extraordinary. Patients in the Miguel group showed significant improvements across multiple measures. 45% reduction in reported pain levels, 38% improvement in immune system function, 52% improvement in sleep quality, 34% reduction in stress hormones, 29% faster healing of surgical wounds. Most remarkably, the improvements were sustained over time, with benefits continuing for weeks after the initial interactions with Miguel. Dr. Patterson's research revealed that something unusual was happening during Miguel's healing sessions that couldn't be explained by conventional understanding of therapeutic touch or emotional support. Miguel appears to be generating some kind of measurable energy field during his healing interactions, Dr. Patterson reported. Sensitive electronic equipment detects electromagnetic changes around patients when Miguel is touching them, and these changes correlate directly with the physiological improvements we're measuring. The research team also discovered that Miguel's own physiology changed during healing sessions. His brain showed unusual activity patterns, his heart rate variability increased significantly, and his body temperature rose measurably when he was focused on helping patients heal. It's as if Miguel enters an altered state of consciousness during healing sessions, Dr. Patterson noted. His entire nervous system appears to be focused on generating some kind of healing energy that his patients can somehow receive and utilize. As news of Miguel's healing abilities spread, he began receiving requests for help from patients throughout the hospital and eventually from people outside St. Vincent's Medical Center who had heard about his gift. Miguel found himself working longer hours, spending his breaks visiting with patients, and using his days off to help people who sought his assistance. The demand for his healing touch was overwhelming, and the physical and emotional cost was significant. Miguel is exhausting himself trying to help everyone who asks, observed Janet Rodriguez. He can't say no when people are suffering, but he's only one person, and there are more requests for help than he can possibly fulfill. Miguel also struggled with the attention and recognition his abilities brought him. He had spent his entire adult life working quietly in the background, and being the center of medical research and media attention was deeply uncomfortable for him. "I don't understand why people make such big deal about this," Miguel said during one interview. "I only do what anyone with a good heart would do. I try to help people who are suffering. If God gives me some way to help them feel better, I am grateful, but I am still just Miguel who cleans the hospital." St. Vincent's Medical Center faced an unprecedented situation in determining how to handle an employee who appeared to possess genuine healing abilities that were producing measurable medical benefits for patients. The hospital's administration worked with Dr. Williams and Dr. Patterson to develop protocols that would allow Miguel to continue helping patients while ensuring his interactions complemented rather than replaced conventional medical care. Miguel's healing touch appears to enhance the effectiveness of traditional medical treatment, Dr. Williams explained to the hospital board. "We want to find ways to integrate his abilities into our patient care while respecting both his limitations and his desire to help people." The hospital created a new position for Miguel, patient comfort specialist. This role allowed him to continue his custodial duties while also providing structured time to visit with patients who requested his healing touch. "We've never had a position like this before," admitted hospital administrator Dr. Patricia Martinez. But we've never had an employee whose presence demonstrably improves patient outcomes through mechanisms we don't fully understand. Based on observations of Miguel's techniques and approach, Dr. Patterson worked with the hospital to develop training programs for other staff members who wanted to learn to provide similar therapeutic touch and presence to patients. While none of the trained staff members demonstrated the same level of healing ability that Miguel possessed, many showed significant improvement in their ability to provide comfort and emotional support that contributed to better patient outcomes. "We can't replicate Miguel's specific gift," Dr. Patterson explained, "but we can teach people to approach patients with the same level of compassion, presence, and focused intention to help that characterizes all of Miguel's interactions." The training program, called Healing Presence Therapy, was eventually adopted by hospitals in 12 states and became part of nursing education curricula at several medical schools. Miguel's case inspired research into therapeutic touch, energy healing, and the relationship between compassionate intention and physical healing at medical centers across the country. Dr. Sarah Martinez at UCLA conducted studies showing that patients who received therapeutic touch from trained practitioners showed measurable improvements in healing rates and pain management, though not to the same degree observed with Miguel. Dr. Robert Chen at the Mayo Clinic documented cases of other individuals who appeared to possess similar healing abilities, suggesting that Miguel's gift, while rare, was not unique. What we're learning from Miguel and similar cases is that human touch, when combined with genuine compassion and focused intention to help, can trigger healing responses that go beyond what conventional medicine has typically recognized, Dr. Chen concluded. Despite the overwhelming attention his healing abilities brought him, Miguel remained fundamentally unchanged in his approach to his work and his life. He continued to live modestly, support his family, and treat his healing gift as a responsibility rather than a source of personal pride. God gives everyone different gifts, Miguel reflected during an interview 2 years after his abilities were first documented. Some people are smart doctors, some people are good nurses, some people know how to fix machines. My gift is that when I touch people with love in my heart, sometimes they feel better. This is not something I did to earn, it is something I was given to share. Miguel's family was initially overwhelmed by the attention his abilities brought, but they eventually found ways to support his work while maintaining their privacy and normal family life. Miguel is still the same husband and father he always was, said his wife Carmen. He still takes out the trash, he still helps our children with homework, he still works hard every day. The only difference is that now more people know what a special person he is. 5 years after his healing abilities were first documented, Miguel Santos continues to work at St. Vincent's Medical Center, now in his role as patient comfort specialist. He estimates that he has provided healing touch to over 2,000 patients, with success rates that continue to amaze medical professionals. The mechanism behind Miguel's healing abilities remains unexplained by conventional medical science, but the benefits continue to be documented and studied. We may never fully understand how Miguel's healing touch works, admits Dr. Williams, but we don't need to understand the mechanism to recognize and benefit from the results. Miguel helps people heal in ways that complement and enhance traditional medical care. Recent patients continue to report the same profound improvements that first brought Miguel to medical attention. I came to the hospital expecting to die from my cancer, said Mr. David Thompson, a recent patient. After Miguel spent time with me, something changed. My pain disappeared, my fear lifted, and my doctors say my cancer is responding to treatment better than they ever expected. I don't know how he does it, but I know that Miguel saved my life. The medical community's response to Miguel's case has evolved from initial skepticism to serious scientific investigation of therapeutic touch and intention-based healing. Dr. Patterson's ongoing research has identified several other individuals with similar healing abilities, suggesting that Miguel represents an example of human potential that exists but is rarely recognized or developed. Miguel's case has opened an entirely new field of medical research, Dr. Patterson explained. We're discovering that human beings may have healing capacities that we've never systematically studied or understood. Miguel's gift may be extraordinary in its strength, but it may not be unique in its nature. Research inspired by Miguel's abilities has led to changes in medical education, with many schools now teaching students about the importance of therapeutic touch, healing presence, and the role of compassion in medical treatment. Today, Miguel Santos continues his work at St. Vincent's Medical Center, where he has become one of the most requested caregivers in the hospital's history. His patient satisfaction scores consistently exceed 98%, and medical outcomes for patients who receive his healing touch continue to surpass statistical expectations. His story has inspired thousands of healthcare workers to approach their patients with greater compassion and presence, leading to improved outcomes in hospitals and clinics around the world. Miguel teaches us that healing is not just about medical procedures and medications, reflects Dr. Williams. Sometimes the most powerful medicine is human touch given with genuine love and the sincere intention to help another person feel better. Miguel's healing touch reminds us that extraordinary abilities can emerge in the most ordinary people when they are motivated by pure compassion for others suffering. His gift challenges our understanding of healing and proves that sometimes the most profound medical breakthroughs come not from advanced technology, but from the simple power of one human being caring deeply about another's well-being. "I am still just Miguel who cleans the hospital," he says with characteristic humility. "But if God can use my hands to help people feel better, then I am grateful to be his helper. This is why we are here, to take care of each other." In a world where healthcare often feels impersonal and technology-driven, Miguel Santos proves that the most essential element of healing, genuine human compassion expressed through caring touch, remains as powerful as any medicine we have yet discovered. His story offers hope that healing abilities exist within human beings in ways we are only beginning to understand, and that the most ordinary people can become extraordinary healers when they approach others with complete love and the sincere desire to ease suffering. The healing touch that Miguel discovered within himself continues to transform lives, one gentle interaction at a time, proving that sometimes the most miraculous medicine comes from the simplest source, one person reaching out to touch another with love and the intention to heal.